بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. توقفنا عند قول المصنف رحمه الله تعالى: وذلك بمعرفة 4 قواعد ذكرها الله تعالى في كتابه. ثم ذكر القاعدة الأولى بقوله: أن تعلم أن الكفار الذين قاتلهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مقرون بأن الله تعالى هو الخالق المدبر، وأن ذلك لم يدخلهم في الإسلام. والدليل قوله تعالى: قل من يرزقكم من السماء والأرض أمن يملك السمع والأبصار ومن يخرج الحي من الميت ومن يخرج الميت من الحي ومن يدبر الأمر فسيقولون الله فقل أفلا تتقون. هذه القاعدة الأولى التي ذكرها شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله تعالى ملخصها أن الإقرار بتوحيد الربوبية لا يكفي في دخول العبد في الإسلام.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. The Shaykh began by saying that the last place that we stopped was at the statement of Shaykh Ahmad Abdul Wahab that the knowledge of these 4 principles is mentioned in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the first principle is that, or is to know that the kuffar that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam fought against used to affirm that Allah the Most High was the creator, the provider, the disposer of all affairs. But that did not enter them into Islam. And the proof for this is the statement of Allah the Most High, where He said in the Quran, say who provides for you from the sky and from the earth, or who owns hearing and sight, and who brings out the living from the dead, and who brings the dead from the living, and who disposes of the affairs. They will say, Allah. Say, will you not then be afraid of Allah's punishment? And in summary, to summarize this whole principle, it is to say that affirming or believing in the oneness of Allah's rububiyyah, His lordship, by itself does not enter a person into Islam. Just the lordship alone, that does not enter a person into Islam.
فكفار مكة كانوا مقرين بأن الله عز وجل هو الخالق الرازق المدبر.
The pagans of Quraysh, of Mecca, they used to believe that Allah, He is the creator, the provider, He is the one that disposes the affairs.
وهذا وحده لم يدخلهم في الإسلام.
However, this by itself did not enter them into Islam.
بل قاتلهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Rather, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam fought against them
حتى يوحدوا الله وحده.
until they singled out Allah alone.
وذلك بأن يأتوا بتوحيد الألوهية.
And that is by bringing Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, which is to worship Allah alone.
وهو توحيد العبادة.
And that is the Tawheed of worship.
الآية فيها إقرار الكفار بأن الله عز وجل الرازق والذي يملك كل شيء.
The ayah that was mentioned, in it is affirmation from the disbelievers that Allah is the one who owns everything. And He is the creator.
فأنكر الله عز وجل عليهم أن يقروا بهذا التوحيد ويصرفوا العبادة لغيره.
However, Allah spoke against them when they affirmed only this Tawheed and then worshipped other than Him.
فالخالق الرازق الذي بيده كل شيء هو المستحق للعبادة.
So the creator who provides, He's the creator and the provider, He is the one that deserves to be worshipped alone.
إذن معنى هذه القاعدة وخلاصتها كما سبق أن الإقرار بتوحيد الربوبية بمفرده لا يكفي في الدخول في الإسلام.
So again, in summary, the meaning of this principle and the summary of this principle is that affirming the oneness of Allah in His Lordship alone, that does not enter a person into Islam by itself.
ولعل شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله تعالى يشير إلى مسألة مهمة.
And perhaps Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahab, he's pointing to a very important principle, or a very important affair.
وهي أننا قد نجد من يصلي ومن يزكي ومن يصرف ومن يصلي ومن يزكي ويقر بأن الله هو الخالق الرازق ويقع في الشرك.
Which is that we may find people who believe that Allah is the creator, Allah is the provider, they believe in these things. And they worship Allah. However, however they fall into shirk, they fall into polytheism.
فالوقوع في الشرك كما ذكر شيخ الإسلام في أول الكلام يفسد العبادة.
So falling into shirk, as Shaykh al-Islam mentioned in the beginning, this completely invalidates the worship.
وهذا أيضا فيه جواب.
And this also is an answer.
على سؤال يتكرر.
This is also the answer for a question that is often repeated.
كيف تقول المشرك وهو يصلي؟
How can we say someone is a polytheist, a mushrik, and he prays?
كيف تقول المشرك وهو يقول الله الذي بيده كل شيء؟
How can we say someone is a polytheist and a mushrik when he says that Allah owns everything?
فالجواب.
So the answer to this?
فالجواب أنه إذا صرف شيئا لغير الله فهو مشرك.
So the answer to this is that if he directs something to other than Allah, then he is mushrik.
وإن صلى وصام.
Even if he prays and fasts.
القاعدة الثانية.
The second principle.
أنهم يقولون ما دعوناهم وتوجهنا إليهم إلا لطلب القربى والشفاعة.
That the mushrikeen, the pagans, they say, we did not call upon them or turn towards them except to seek nearness and intercession with Allah.
هذه شبهة المشركين.
This is the doubt of the mushrikeen, the polytheists.
فهم يقولون اتخذنا الآلهة من دون الله.
So they say that we took the gods besides Allah
لأحد سببين.
for one of two reasons.
لأنها قريبة ولها منزلة عند الله.
Either that they are close to Allah and they have a high position with Allah,
ولأنها تشفع لنا.
or that they will intercede.
ثم ذكر الإمام محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله تعالى دليل ذلك بقوله فدليل القربة قوله تعالى والذين اتخذوا من دونه أولياء ما نعبدهم إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى إن الله يحكم بينهم فيما هم فيه يختلفون إن الله لا يهدي من هو كاذب كفار.
So Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahab, he mentioned the proof for this issue in the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah, and those who take awliya, protectors besides him, they say, we worship them only that they may bring us near to Allah. Verily Allah will judge between them concerning wherein they differ. Truly Allah guides not him who is a liar and a disbeliever.
إذن هم عبدوا مع الله عز وجل هؤلاء الأولياء من الملائكة أو الصالحين.
So they worshipped other than Allah, they worshipped besides Allah, these awliya, whether they are righteous people or angels.
من الملائكة أو الصالحين ودعاؤهم لهم سموه عبادة ما نعبدهم.
Whether they are the angels or the righteous people, they turn their worship to them, and this is called worship, and they name this worship.
ما نعبدهم إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى. العجيب أن المشرك أن من وقع أو أن من يقع في الشرك من هذه الأمة فيتخذ الأولياء آلهة من دون الله يقول نحن ما نعبدهم نحن فسموا ووصفوا فعلهم بأنه عبادة وهذه هي الحقيقة.
So the mushrikun, they clearly name this ibadah. And what is strange is that the people who fall into shirk from this ummah, they do not say that it is worship. They do not call it ibadah. They say that we do this out of love for them. However, the mushrikun, they were more correct and they were more open in their statements. And that is the reality. What they do, it is in reality worship.
فإذا اتخاذ الأولياء التوجه إليهم دعاؤهم الذبح لهم النذر لهم الطواف حول قبورهم هذه هي عبادة الحقيقة.
So taking these intercessions, these awliya, and worshipping them, making tawaf around their graves, sacrificing for them, and so on and so forth, this is worship in reality.
إذن قالوا إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى أي إلا لتكون لنا المنزلة والدرجة عند الله عز وجل.
So they said, we worship them only that they may bring us near to Allah, meaning that we may have a high position with Allah, that we may get close to Allah.
ثم قال الله إن الله يحكم بينهم فيما هم فيه يختلفون. يعني هذه الشبهة التي ذكروها الله عز وجل سيبطلها لهم يوم القيامة.
And then Allah said, verily Allah will judge between them concerning that wherein they differ. Meaning that this doubt that they have, this doubt that they bring, Allah will destroy it on the Day of Judgment. He will render it invalid.
ويظهر كذبهم وعدم صدقهم.
And their lie and their lack of truthfulness will become clear and open.
ولذلك يجب على العبد
And for this reason, it is incumbent upon the slave, the servant,
أن يكون صادقا مع الله.
to be truthful with Allah.
فبعض الناس اليوم
Some people today,
قد يذكر عذرا
they may mention some kind of excuse
لكي يعني يسوغ لنفسه أو يجوز لنفسه أمرا ما.
They mention this excuse in order to permit something for themselves.
وهو في حقيقة أمره يعلم أنه على باطل.
However, he knows in reality, he knows in himself that this is not true.
فأنت لا تخدع الله إنما تخدع نفسك.
And you do not fool Allah, rather you only fool yourself.
فالله يعلم السرائر.
So verily Allah knows all the secrets.
إذن هذا دليل القربة ودليل الشفاعة قوله تعالى ويعبدون من دون الله ما لا يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ويقولون هؤلاء شفعاؤنا عند الله.
So what we mentioned before, that was the proof for being close. And the proof for intercession is the statement of Allah the Most High. They say, or the same statement of Allah, and they worship besides Allah things that hurt them not, nor profit them. And they say, these are our intercessors with Allah.
فسمى الله عز وجل طلب الشفاعة من الأموات عبادة.
So Allah called this seeking intercession from the dead worship.
سواء يعني ولنقل سمى الله طلب الشفاعة من غيره فيما لم يأذن فيه عبادة.
And we can say that that seeking intercession for something that Allah has not permitted, this is also worship.
إذن ويعبدون من دون الله ما لا يضرهم ولا ينفعهم. هم يعترفون الكفار كفار مكة وغيرهم يعترفون أن هذه الآلهة لا تضر ولا تنفع.
So they worship besides Allah things that do not hurt, things that hurt them, that do not hurt them, nor profit them. So the mushrikun, the pagans, they affirm and they admit that this is
لا تضر وهم يعترفون أن هذه الآلهة لا تضر ولا تنفع. سماها عبادة.
No, so they said, so this is, they call this worship.
بعد هذا ذكر الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى مسألة الشفاعة وأنها نوعان.
After this, the Shaykh mentioned an important point, which is that intercession is two types.
فقال رحمه الله تعالى: والشفاعة شفاعتان شفاعة منفية وشفاعة مثبتة.
And the two types are intercession which is prohibited and intercession which is affirmed.
الشفاعة المنفية غير شرعية والشفاعة المثبتة هي الشفاعة الشرعية.
The prohibited intercession, this is the type that is not allowed. It is not legislated. However, the affirmed intercession, this is allowed.
والشفاعة في اللغة من شفع إذا ضم الشيء إلى غيره.
And the word shafa'a, which is intercession, comes from the Arabic root shafa'a, which means if you bring one thing to another, put them together.
وهي ضد الواحد أو الوتر.
And it is the opposite of single or to make something one.
ولذلك يقال بالشفاعة لغة الزوج.
So in the language they call shafa'a or intercession zawj, which is partner.
والشفاعة في الاصطلاح أو الشرع تعريفها سؤال الشافع الخير لغيره.
And in the Sharia, in the religion of Allah, the definition of intercession is to ask the one being interceded, meaning Allah, something that will benefit for other than him.
ممكن نقول سؤال شخص الخير لغيره.
Or, sorry, a person asking for good for other than him.
الخير أو النفع سؤال شخص صالح نفع لغيره شرعا. طيب، ما هي الشفاعة المنفية؟ بينها لك شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب بقوله: ما كانت تطلب من غير الله فيما لا يقدر عليه إلا الله.
When Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahab, he clarified that the prohibited intercession is that which is sought from other than Allah concerning that which only Allah is able to do.
الشفاعة المنفية التي لا تجوز هي أن تطلب الشفاعة من غير الله عز وجل ولا يملك هذه الشفاعة ولا يقدر عليها إلا الله عز وجل.
So the prohibited shafa'ah or intercession is to seek intercession with something that only Allah can give this intercession for.
والدليل قوله تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلة ولا شفاعة والكافرون هم الظالمون.
And the proof is the saying of Allah the Most High: O you who believe, spend of that which we have provided for you before a day when there will be no bargaining, nor friendship, nor intercession. And it is the disbelievers who are ظالمون, the oppressors, wrongdoers.
فقوله تعالى: ولا شفاعة نفي للشفاعة.
So the statement of Allah, nor intercession, is negating intercession.
ولكن ليس مطلقا.
However, this is not in totality.
إنما نوع منها.
Rather, this is a specific type,
وهي المنفية.
which is the prohibited type.
ثم ذكر الشفاعة المثبتة وهي التي تطلب من الله.
And then he mentioned the affirmed intercession, which is the one that is sought from Allah.
قال: والشافع مكرم بالشفاعة أو مكرم بالشفاعة.
He said, while the intercessor is honored with the intercession.
والمشفوع له هو من رضي الله قوله وعمله بعد الإذن.
And the one being interceded for is someone whose deeds and speech are pleasing to Allah after he gives permission.
فهذان شرطان للشفاعة.
So these are two conditions for intercession.
شرطان للشفاعة الشرعية المثبتة.
Two conditions for the affirmed, legislated intercession.
الشرط الأول أن تكون بإذن الله.
The first condition is that it is with the permission of Allah.
حتى نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Even our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam,
لما يطلب الشفاعة
when he seeks intercession,
يستأذن من الله عز وجل يوم القيامة.
he seeks permission from Allah first on the day of judgment.
كما جاء في حديث أنس يستأذن 3 مرات.
As it comes in the hadith of Anas, that he seeks permission 3 times.
فيؤذن له.
And then he is given permission.
إذن الشرط الأول أن تكون بإذن الله.
So the first condition is that it is with the permission of Allah.
ما أحد يملك الشفاعة يوم القيامة إلا الله عز وجل.
Nobody besides Allah possesses that permission on the Day of Judgment.
والشرط الثاني الرضا عن الشافع والمشفوع.
And the second condition is that Allah is pleased with the one seeking intercession and the one being sought for.
والدليل قوله تعالى
And the proof is the saying of the Most High.
في الإذن من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه.
Who is he that can intercede with him except by his permission?
وقوله تعالى ولا يشفعون إلا لمن ارتضى.
And the statement of Allah, they do not seek intercession إلا لمن ارتضى, except for who he gives, except for that who he is pleased with.
إذن لو أردنا أن نلخص هذه القاعدة نلخصها بما ذكره الشيخ محمد أمان رحمه الله تعالى بقوله عبادة المشركين لآلهتهم كانت من قبيل الوساطة والشفاعة لا لأن آلهتهم تخلق أو ترزق أو تضر أو تنفع. ملخص هذه القاعدة.
If we want to summarize this, or the summary of this principle,
كما ذكر الشيخ محمد أمان الجامي,
is like how Sheikh Muhammad Aman Jami mentioned,
عبادة المشركين لآلهتهم,
the worship of the mushrikeen, of the pagans to their gods, was
من قبيل أو من نوع
was from the aspect or from the type of
اتخاذ الوساطة
taking intercessors,
والشفاعة.
taking intercessors and mediums.
لا لأن آلهتهم تخلق أو ترزق.
Not that their gods actually created or provided
أو تضر أو تنفع.
or harmed or benefited.
إذن هذه ملخص القاعدة.
So this is the summary of this principle.
ويمكن أن نقول أيضا بعبارة أخرى.
And we can also say in another phrase
أن جعل
that taking
شيئا مع الله
taking something with Allah
من باب القربى والشفاعة
from the aspect or the angle of getting close and seeking intercession
شرك وعبادة
is polytheism, shirk, and worship.
والقاعدة الثالثة,
and the third principle,
وهي قاعدة طويلة,
it is a long principle.
خلاصتها,
in summary,
أن كل ما عبد من دون الله فهو شرك.
The summary of it is that everything that is worshipped besides Allah, this is shirk, this is polytheism.
وإن شئت فقل,
and you can also say, if you like,
كل من اتخذ ندا لله,
everyone who takes a partner with Allah,
فقد أشرك.
then he has committed shirk.
وهذه القاعدة,
and this principle
مهمة,
is very important,
إذ أنها
because
تدفع شبهة,
because it gets rid of the doubts that many of the general people have,
وهي,
and which is
أن محبة الصالحين والأولياء,
that loving the salihin and the awliya, the righteous people,
ليست شركا مطلقا,
is not shirk in general.
وهذا خطأ.
However, this is incorrect,
إذ أن محبة الصالحين
because loving the righteous people
بالطريقة الشرعية
in the legislated fashion,
التي لا يغالى فيها,
which does not have any sort of
ليست
extremism,
شركا.
that is not shirk, that is not polytheism.
ومحبتهم
However, loving them
غلوا
with extremism
وإعطاءهم بعض الصفات الإلهية
and giving them some of the attributes of
والربوبية,
Allah, of lordship and worship,
فهي شرك.
then this is shirk.
يقول الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ظهر على أناس متفرقين في عبادته. ظهر بمعنى خرج,
The Shaykh, he mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, he came to a people that were differing in their types of worship.
متفرقين في عبادتهم أي أن كل أناس يتخذون إلها من أنفسهم.
Differing in their worship, meaning that every person or every type of people took their own God for their own type of worship from themselves.
مثل ما قال يوسف,
Such like what Yusuf said,
يا صاحبي السجن,
"Oh, my two companions in the prison,
أأرباب متفرقون
are different separate gods,
أم الله الواحد القهار
or
خير أم الله الواحد القهار."
are separate lords better, or Allah, the Al-Qahar, the one who is overpowered?"
ثم بين الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى
And then the Shaykh, he clarified
هذه المعبودات من دون الله.
that these things which are worshipped other than Allah,
فقال منهم من يعبد الملائكة,
and so some of them they worship the angels,
فيدعو الملائكة ويسأل الملائكة ويتوجه إلى الملائكة.
so they supplicate to the angels and they ask the angels and they worship the angels.
ومنهم من يعبد الأنبياء والصالحين.
And some of them they worship the prophets and the messengers and the righteous people.
ومنهم من يعبد الأحجار والأشجار.
And some people they worship the stones and the trees.
ومنهم من يعبد الشمس والقمر.
And some people they worship the sun and the moon.
وقاتلهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
And the Prophet ﷺ, he fought against them,
جميعا.
all of them.
ولم يفرق بينهم.
And he did not differentiate between them.
قوله وقاتلهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم معناه أنه حكم بكفرهم.
And his statement that the Prophet ﷺ fought against them means that the Prophet ﷺ judged them as being kuffar, being disbelievers.
وقوله ولم يفرق بينهم أي كفر من عبد الملائكة أو الرسل أو الصالحين أو الحجر والشجر والشمس والقمر.
And the statement, or the statement of the Shaykh, that the Prophet ﷺ did not differentiate between them means that he declared all of them to be disbelievers, whether they worship the sun and the moon or the trees and the stones and so on and so forth.
قال الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى والدليل قوله تعالى
And the Shaykh said that the proof is the statement of the Most High,
وقاتلوهم حتى لا تكون فتنة ويكون الدين لله.
and fight them until there is no more fitna and that the deen is all for Allah.
فهذه الآية فيها دليل على قتال المشركين.
So this ayah has proof, or contains proof, for fighting against the polytheists.
ووجه الدلالة
And the aspect of this evidence
العموم في قوله وقاتلوهم.
is the generality of his statement, fight them.
فأمر بقتال جميع المشركين.
So he commanded that we fight all of the mushrikeen, all of the polytheists.
وهذا دليل على عدم التفريق بينهم كما ذكر الشيخ.
And this is a proof that there is no difference between them, as the Shaykh mentioned before.
ثم قال ودليل الشمس والقمر قوله تعالى ومن آياته الليل والنهار والشمس والقمر لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر. أي أن هناك من يسجد للشمس والقمر فلا تفعلوا كفعله.
And the proof that the sun and the moon were worshipped is the statement of the Most High, and from among his signs are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. Do not prostrate to the sun and the moon, but prostrate to Allah who created them. So his statement, do not prostrate to the sun and the moon, means that people took them as gods besides Allah, worshipped them.
ولذلك جاءت السنة بالنهي عن الصلاة عند طلوع الشمس وعند غروبها.
And for that reason, we have in the Sunnah that it is prohibited to worship at the time when the sun comes up and goes down.
لأن هناك من يسجد للشمس عند الغروب وعند الطلوع.
Because there are people who worship and they prostrate to the sun when the sun rises and when it sets.
قال ودليل الملائكة قوله تعالى ولا يأمركم أن تتخذوا الملائكة والنبيين أربابا.
And the proof that the angels are worshipped is the saying of the Most High, nor would He order you to take the angels and prophets for lords, or as lords. So this is proof that there are people who take the angels as lords. So the prophets and messengers, they never commanded this.
بعد هذه الآية أيأمركم بالكفر بعد إذ أنتم مسلمون.
And for this reason, and for this reason, it comes directly after this ayah. أيأمركم بالكفر. Do they order you to disbelieve? Bad. أيأمركم بالكفر.
أيأمركم بالكفر بعد إذ أنتم مسلمون.
Will they command you with kufr, with disbelief, after you are already Muslims?
قال ودليل الأنبياء قوله تعالى وإذ قال الله يا عيسى وإن كانت الآية السابقة دليل لأنه قوله ولا يأمركم أن تتخذوا الملائكة والنبيين أربابا لكنه من باب تعدد الأدلة وتنوعها قال ودليل الأنبياء قوله تعالى وإذ قال الله يا عيسى ابن مريم أأنت قلت للناس اتخذوني وأمي إلهين من دون الله قال سبحانه ما يكون لي أن أقول ما ليس لي بحق إن كنت قلته فقد علمته تعلم ما في نفسي ولا أعلم ما في نفسي إنك أنت علام الغيوب. فهناك من عبد عيسى عليه السلام.
And the proof that the prophets are worshipped, even though the ayah that was mentioned before is also a proof, but this is from the aspect of mentioning many different proofs, is the statement of Allah the Most High. And when Allah will say on the day of resurrection, O Isa ibn Maryam, did you say unto man, worship me and my mother as two gods besides Allah? He will say, Subhanak, glory be to you. It was not for me to say what I had no right to say. Had I said such a thing, you would surely have known. You know what is in my inner self, though I do not know what is in yours. Truly you are all knower of all that is hidden.
بل أيضا اتخذت أم عيسى مريم عليه السلام اتخذت يعني عبدت من دون الله عز وجل.
So this is proof, the Shaykh mentioned before, this is proof that Isa alayhi salam was worshipped. And he just said just now that this is also proof that even Maryam was worshipped besides Allah.
يقول عيسى يوم القيامة سبحانه يعني أنزهك يا الله عن أن يكون لك شريك.
Isa alayhi salam, he will say, Subhanak, glory be to you, which means that I take away anything that should not be ascribed to Allah. Deny anything that should not be ascribed to Allah.
ما يكون لي أن أقول ما ليس لي بحق يعني أن أعبد وأن تصرف لي العبادة ليس من حقي لأني بشر مخلوق والملائكة مخلوقة والحجر والشجر مخلوقون كل هؤلاء مخلوقون من الله عز وجل فلا تصرف العبادة له.
Isa alayhi salam, he will say, it was not for me to say that which I had no right to say. So this means that it is not his right. He doesn't have the right to be worshipped. Not Isa, not the angels, not anybody else. They do not have the right to be worshipped besides Allah.
قال إن كنت قلته فقد علمته تعلم ما في نفسي ولا أعلم ما في نفسي. في هذه الآية كما ذكر أهل السنة إثبات لصفة النفس أو للنفس لله عز وجل وأن الله عز وجل له نفس تليق بجلاله سبحانه وتعالى.
The statement of Isa alayhi salam, had I said such a thing, surely you would have known it. You know what is in my inner self, and I do not know what is in yours. The Shaykh said that in this ayah, or this part of the ayah, there's affirmation for what Ahlul Sunnah believe and what we affirm, that Allah Azza wa Jal, one of His attributes is nafs, self, that He has a self, in a way or in a manner that is befitting Him. Also, like in the statement of Allah, and Allah warns you from Himself.
ثم قال ودليل الصالحين أي عبادتهم قوله تعالى أولئك الذين يدعون يبتغون إلى ربهم الوسيلة أيهم أقرب ويرجون رحمته ويخافون عذابه.
And the proof that the righteous are worshipped besides Allah is the statement of the Most High, those whom they call upon desire for themselves means of access to Allah, to their Lord, as to which of them should be nearest, and they hope for His mercy and they fear His torment.
معنى الآية
The meaning of this ayah,
خطاب أو بيان لحال المشركين.
it is a clarification for the condition of the polytheists, mushrikeen.
يدعون ويشركون الملائكة والأنبياء والصالحين مع الله.
They ascribe partners to Allah, and they take partners from the angels and the righteous and so on. They ascribe them as partners to Allah.
فأخبر الله المشركين
So Allah has informed these polytheists
أن هؤلاء الملائكة والأنبياء والصالحين
that these angels and righteous people and prophets,
أنفسهم يدعون الله.
that they themselves worship Allah, they call upon Allah,
يبتغون إلى ربهم الوسيلة بالعمل الصالح.
that they seek nearness to Allah, or they seek a means to Allah by righteous action,
ويتقربون له بذلك.
and they get close to Allah with this righteous action,
ويرجون رحمة الله ويخافون عذابه.
and they hope for His mercy and they fear His punishment.
فالأولى أن تعبدوا الله لا أن تعبدوه.
So it is upon you, or what is more upon you, is to worship Allah and not to worship them.
فالآية فيها دليل على عدم جواز عبادة الصالحين وأن دعاءهم والتوجه إليهم من عبادتهم.
So this ayah contains proof that it is not permissible to worship the righteous and the prophets and so on and so forth besides Allah, and that doing so is indeed considered worship.
إذن الملائكة الأنبياء الصالحين كلهم لا يدعون مع الله عز وجل.
So the prophets and the angels and the righteous, none of them are to be worshipped besides Allah.
وهذا فيه رد على القبوريين.
And this has a strong refutation against those who worship the graves.
الذين يجعلون الشرك فقط في الأحجار والشمس والقمر.
Those who say or they claim that shirk is only if you worship stones and trees and so on.
وأما دعاء الملائكة والأنبياء والصالحين ليس بشرك.
And as for supplication to the angels and to the righteous and to the prophets, they do not say that this is shirk.
وهذا خطأ من وجهين.
And this is incorrect from two aspects.
أن الله عز وجل أنكر على المشركين اتخاذ الملائكة والنبيين والصالحين عبادة من دونه.
The first aspect is that Allah rebuked them for rebuked the polytheists for taking the angels and so forth as partners besides Allah.
وأمر بقتالهم.
And He ordered and commanded with killing them.
وكذا الناحية الثانية أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم دعا الجميع إلى عبادة الله ولم يفرق بينهم.
And the second aspect is that the Prophet ﷺ, he called everyone to Islam, to worshipping Allah alone, and he did not differentiate between them.
ثم قال ودليل الأحجار والأشجار قوله تعالى أفرأيتم اللات والعزى ومناة الثالثة الأخرى.
And then the Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahab, he mentioned that the proof for taking the stones and trees as being worshipped besides Allah is the statement of the Most High, have you considered Al-Lat and Al-Uzza and Manat, the other third?
اللات ومناة أحجار والعزى شجرة أو شجرات.
So Lat and Manat, these are stones, and Uzza was a tree or a group of trees or some trees.
اللات ومناة كما سبق هذه أحجار. قيل في اللات أنه رجل صالح في جهة الطائف كان يلف يعني يعجن السويق التمر بالدقيق ويتصدق به، فلما مات اتخذوا مكان جلوسه جهة صخرة اتخذوا بيتا واتخذوه صنما يعبد من دون الله.
It is said that Lat, this we mentioned before, that this is a stone. It is mentioned that Lat comes from a righteous person who used to prepare food for. He is a righteous person from Taif who used to prepare food. He used to prepare the food for the pilgrims, for the Hajjaj, and for other than them. So when he passed away, they made a place. They took a house for him, and they placed a stone, and this is where they used to worship.
إذن الشاهد من هذا أن الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى دل على أن هناك من يعبد الحجر والشجر.
The point anyway is that the Shaykh proved that there are those who take stones and trees for worship.
ثم قال وحديث أبي واقد الليثي.
And then he said the hadith of Abu Waqid al-Laythi
للدلالة على اتخاذ الشجر
for proving that people take trees
آلهة من دون الله.
as gods besides Allah.
قال أبو واقد خرجنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى حنين.
Abu Waqid said that we departed with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Hunayn,
ونحن حدثاء عهد بكفر.
and we had recently left Kufr.
وللمشركين سدرة يعكفون عندها.
And the mushrikeen used to have a low tree that they used to devote themselves,
وينقضون بها أسلحتهم.
and they used to hang their weapons upon it.
يقال لها ذات أنواط.
It was called Dhatu Anwat.
فمررنا بسدرة.
And we passed by a low tree,
فقلنا يا رسول الله.
and we said, O Messenger of Allah,
اجعل لنا ذات أنواط كما لهم ذات أنواط.
appoint for us a Dhat Anwat like how they have Dhat Anwat.
الحديث أخرجه الترمذي وغيره وصححه الألباني.
The hadith is reported by Tirmidhi and other than him, and Imam Al-Albani declared it to be correct.
هذا الحديث وجه الاستدلال به.
This hadith, the point of it, or the evidence in it,
أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam
جعل طلب
made their request,
هؤلاء النفر من الصحابة
this group of the Sahaba,
رضوان الله عليهم,
may Allah be pleased with them,
بأن يجعل لهم شجرة
that to make a tree
يعلقون عليها أسلحتهم
to hang their weapons upon,
من باب التقوي على العدو.
from the angle of getting stronger or becoming stronger against their enemies.
لا أنهم يعتقدون أنها تنفع وتضر.
Not that they believe that the tree itself benefits or harms.
فجعل هذا الطلب
So the Prophet ﷺ made this request
كطلب قوم موسى حين قالوا له اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم. فشبه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هذا بهذا.
So the Prophet ﷺ made their request similar to the request of the people of Musa alayhi salam when they said to him, make for us a God like how they have gods, meaning the people, like how they have gods.
كما قال الله
As Allah mentioned
على لسان قوم موسى
upon the tongue of the people of Musa alayhi salam,
اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة.
make for us a God as they have gods.
قال إنكم قوم تجهلون.
He said, Musa, verily you are ignorant people.
أي تجهلون
Meaning that you are ignorant of
قدرة الله عز وجل وعظمته.
ignorant of the ability of Allah and His lofty status.
فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حينها الله أكبر.
So the Prophet ﷺ said at that point,
قلت
Allahu Akbar,
والله
you have said something by Allah
كما قال بنو إسرائيل.
similar to that which Bani Israel said.
اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة.
Make for us a God as they have gods.
فهذا إنكار شديد من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
So this is a strong disapproval from the Prophet ﷺ
على هذا الطلب.
against this request,
لأنه سيؤدي إلى الشرك الأكبر.
because it will lead to greater shirk,
ولأن الشجر لا ينفع ولا يضر.
and because the tree does not benefit nor harm.
ومن طلب ذلك من الصحابة
And whoever from the companions requested this,
وضح أبو واقد الليثي رضي الله عنه
Abu Waqid al-Laythi, he clarified
أن سببه
that the reason for this,
أنهم كانوا أسلموا قريبا
that they had just entered into Islam.
فجاءوا عهد بكفر
They were new into Islam and they had just left Kufr.
فلم يفقهوا
So they did not understand.
هذه المسألة.
They did not understand this affair.
إذن جعل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اتخاذ الشجر عبادة من دون الله عز وجل.
So the Prophet ﷺ, he made or he declared taking this tree as worship besides Allah.
القاعدة الرابعة.
The fourth principle.
قال الشيخ أن مشركي زماننا أغلظ شركا من الأولين.
That the fourth principle is that Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, he said that the mushrikeen of our time are worse than the mushrikeen who came before.
لأن الأولين يشركون في الرخاء.
Because those who came before used to worship in times of ease.
أي في وقت السعة والراحة.
In the times that they had ease and everything was easy.
ويخلصون في الشدة أي في المصائب.
And they would become sincere and worship Allah in the times of difficulty.
أي يخلصون دعاء الله.
And they would single out Allah alone in supplication.
ومشركو زماننا.
And the mushrikun of our time,
شركهم دائم.
their shirk is always it.
في الرخاء والشدة.
Their shirk is at every time, in times of difficulty and ease.
والدليل قوله تعالى.
And the statement of the Most High,
فإذا ركبوا في الفلك دعوا الله مخلصين له الدين.
The proof is the statement of the Most High, and when they embark on a ship, they invoke Allah, making their faith purely for Him.
فلما نجاهم إلى البر إذا هم يشركون.
And when He brings them safely to land, behold, they give share of their worship to others.
خلاصة هذه القاعدة أن الشرك درجات.
In summary, the summary of this principle is that shirk is on different levels.
وأن الشرك قد يقع من المسلم أعظم من المشرك.
And that the Muslim may fall into shirk worse than the disbelievers.
وفيها رد على قول العامة يعني لما تنكر على رجل يطوف حول القبور أو يدعو دون الله يقول مهما كان هذا أفضل من المشركين الأولين.
And in this is a refutation of many of the general people who say that when someone makes tawaf around the grave, that however much they may have reached, that they are still better than the disbelievers.
فيقال لهؤلاء.
So it is said to these people,
بل قد يكون هذا المشرك من هذه الأمة.
Rather, the mushrik from this ummah
أشد شركا من
may be worse in his shirk
المشركين الأولين.
than the mushrikeen of the past.
ما السبب في هذا؟
What's the reason for this?
يقول شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب.
Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, he says
المشركون الأولون
that the mushrikun of the past,
في حال الاطمئنان والراحة والأمان يشركون مع الله.
in the times of safety and ease, they commit shirk with Allah.
وفي حال المصائب والشدة كمن يركب في البحر.
And in the times of difficulty, and trials, such as riding in the boat, on ships,
يدعون الله دعاء مخلص.
They worship Allah sincerely for Him alone.
وهو أنهم يوقنون أنه لا ينقذهم إلا الله.
Meaning that they know and they have certainty that no one can save them except for Allah.
هذا من هؤلاء المشركون الأولون.
Who are these people? These are the mushrikeen of the past.
أما المشركون من هذه الأمة.
As for the mushrikeen of this time,
فإنهم يدعون مع الله.
For rather they worship with Allah
في حالة الرخاء وفي حالة الشدة.
in times of ease and difficulty.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فإذا شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله تعالى أراد إثبات هذه الشدة والغلظة في الشرك من هذه الحيثية.
So, Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, he wanted to establish that the severity of this shirk from this aspect, from this angle. And his statement that the disbelievers or the mushrikeen of our time,
إما أن يريد
either he means
من وقع في الشرك الأكبر وأقيمت عليه حجة.
Those who fall into the greater shirk and the proof has been established upon him.
فهذا واضح.
So this is clear.
يعني من أقيمت عليه الحجة انتهى هو مشرك.
Whoever the proof has been established upon him, then this is clear that he is a mushrik.
وإما أن يريد
Or either he means
من وقع في الشرك من أهل زماننا.
those who fall into shirk from our time
مع عدم الحكم بشركه.
without making a ruling of them falling into shirk.
فيكون هذا من باب الحكم العام.
So this is from the aspect of حكم عام, a general ruling. No. So meaning that is we don't declare a specific person to be a disbeliever.
فهذه الأعمال شرك.
So these actions are shirk.
ولكن لا ننزلها على الأعيان.
But we do not establish it upon the people, individual people,
إلا بعد إقامة الحجة.
Until we establish the proof.
وإزالة الموانع والشبهات.
And we take away their doubts.
ولا يفهم من هذا الكلام.
And it is not to be understood from this
أن المشركين الأولين
that the mushrikeen of the past
أفضل من المشركين المعاصرين
are better than the mushrikeen of our
من
times,
هذه الأمة
of this ummah,
الذين لا نحكم بكفرهم
that the ones that we do not declare them to be disbelievers,
إلا من هذه الحيثية.
except in this aspect.
وفي كلام شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب هذا أيضا.
And in the speech of Muhammad Abdul Wahab, also,
فائدة.
there is also a benefit,
منهجية.
a manhaji benefit.
وهي أن تفضيل بعض الشيء على بعض لا يلزم منه أو بعبارة أخرى في كلامه رحمه الله تعالى فائدة منهجية أنه لا يلزم من كلامه هذا مدح الكفار.
And another or a benefit that we can derive from this is that it does not necessitate that we praise the kuffar.
فأهل السنة حينما يردون على أهل البدع.
So Ahlul Sunnah, when they refute Ahlul Bid'ah,
ويعظمون البدع ويعظمون بمعنى يعظمون البدع وينكرون البدع إنكارا عظيما.
And that they refute the bid'ah and that they hold it to be something great, and they refute it because it is something bad.
يعظمون البدع يعني يجعلون أمرها خطير.
No, because they make it to be something dangerous.
على المعاصي.
More than the sins.
لا يعنون بهذا أن المعاصي باب مفتوح.
It does not mean that sins are an open door.
لأن نظرتهم من حيثية معينة.
Because they are looking from a particular angle, particular aspect.
وبهذا نكون قد انتهينا من القواعد الأربعة لشيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله تعالى. والحقيقة لفت نظري في كتب شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب أمر مهم.
And with this, alhamdulillah, we have finished Qawaid al-Arba, 4 principles. And the Shaykh said in reality there's something that brought his attention.
أن ما من مسألة يذكرها
That there's no affair that he mentions
إلا ويذكر دليلها.
except that he mentions the proof with it.
وهذا تعليم لنا.
And this is a lesson for us.
أن نقبل الحق بدليله.
That we should accept the truth with its proof.
فمن قال قولا لا بد أن يبرهن عليه.
So whoever says something, they should establish it with evidence.
وهذا منهج سلفي. هذا منهج سلفي. إذا ذكرت الشيء تذكر الحجة عليه.
And this is a Salafi manhaj, that when you mention something, you mention it with evidence.
وأنا أقول إن السلفيين لو التزموا بهذا المنهج.
And the Shaykh says, I say that if the Salafis were to hold on to this manhaj,
طبعا المنهج السلفي ملتزم به لكن بعض السلفيين لا يلتزمون به.
He's saying that the Salafi manhaj, of course, alhamdulillah, is held on to. But what he means is that some of the Salafis need to this particular aspect, hold on to.
فتجد من يتكلم في الشيء بلا حجة ولا برهان.
He says, so sometimes you find someone speaking about something without evidence.
ويريد من الناس أن يتابعوا قوله.
And they want the people to follow him.
وهذا بلا شك خطأ.
And this is without doubt incorrect.
مخالف للمنهج.
This is against the manhaj.
نعم. صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Okay, we have two questions. One, which is related to the class. And it says, I'll read it first. The first question, it says, what is the ruling upon one who proclaims La ilaha illallah, but due to his environment or his surroundings and the lack of sincere knowledge, the lack of sincere knowledgeable callers, he commits shirk, believing it to be part of Islam or necessitated by Islam. يعني يقول ما حكم الذي يقول لا إله إلا الله لكن بسبب بيئته وعدم وجود دعاة مخلصين على التوحيد يشرك بالله ويظن هذا من الإسلام ظنا أن هذا من الإسلام.
إذن هذا السؤال يسأل عن حال أناس يقولون لا إله إلا الله وهم مسلمون إلا أنهم وقعوا في الشرك جهلا ولا يعلمون حكم ذلك. فهذا عند أهل العلم يدخل في مسألة العذر بالجهل. ويعني الصحيح إن شاء الله من قواعد العلم أن من وقع في هذا الأمر جهلا أنه يعني يعذر بهذا الجهل ولا يحكم بشركه. شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية وابن القيم الجوزية وغيرهم من أهل العلم يقولون بهذا أن حتى قال شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية ليس للعوام وليس للجهال، قال هذا الكلام بعلماء من علماء الكلام وقعوا في نفي الصفات والخوض في الذات الإلهية بكلام كفري، بعضهم جهمية وبعضهم معتزلة. فقال قولكم كفر ولكن لا أكفركم، هم علماء هم عوام. وقال لو أنا كنت معكم لحكمت على نفسي بالكفر، ولكن ما كفرهم كما في كتابه الرد على البكري.
In summary, basically what the Shaykh is saying is that this situation in which a person is ignorant, then the ulama of Islam, they have called this issue someone that is excused because of their ignorance. So a person like this, he is excused due to his ignorance, unless the Prophet is established and so on and so forth. And he mentioned that the likes of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and Al-Qayyim, they mentioned this, and Shaykh al-Islam, he even mentioned not just to the general people, but even to the scholars of Ahl Bid'ah, some of the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila, some of the people who spoke about the attributes of Allah, and even spoke about Allah Himself, with things that are kufr. He said that their statement is kufr, but I do not make takfir of them. However, if I was in their place, I would make takfir of myself. And this is because they were ignorant. They did not understand these issues. The second question is, what do you say about an Islamically educated person who states that Umar ibn Khattab would fail an Aqidah test given by modern day Salafis because he wouldn't know things like the names of 3 categories of Tawheed? يعني seeking to mock the Salafis today. سؤال الشيخ يعني ماذا نقول في شخص يقول شخص تعلم التعليم الإسلامي يقول لو كان عمر بن الخطاب حيا الآن واختبر في مثل اختباراتنا المعاصرة لما نجح، طيب لأنه مثلا لا يعرف أنواع التوحيد 3 أنواع التوحيد وهذه تقسيمات، لا يعرف تقسيمات التوحيد وإلى مثل هذا الكلام.
يقول عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه اختبر اختبارات المعاصرة لا ينجح. يقصد بهذا يعني المواد الدينية ولا يقصد مثلا الفيزياء والكيمياء والأشياء؟
لا، مواد الظاهر مواد دينية.
هذا القول باطل من وجوه كثيرة، ويدل على أن صاحبه أحد رجلين، إما جاهل متصدر فلا ينبغي يطلب العلم، وإما صاحب هوى يستخف بأصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وبطلان هذا القول أدب مع الصحابة.
He said this statement is refutable and it is invalid in many different ways. The first thing is that either this is a person who is ignorant, he doesn't know, and he is putting himself forward in da'wah, in which case knowledge should not be taken from the likes of these people. Or that he is a person, or a person of desires. Thank you. Or either he is a person of desires, a person who follows his desires.
ثانيا أن نقول إن هذا القول أيضا فيه اتهام للعلماء بأنهم أتوا في دين الله عز وجل وفي مسائل العلم بأمور جديدة لا تبلغها العقول.
The second thing is that in this statement is an accusation against the ulama of Islam that they came with things in the deen, they came with new things in the deen that was not present before.
ثالثا أن نقول جزما أن الصحابة رضوان الله عليهم كانوا أعلم الناس بدين الله عز وجل.
Thirdly, we say with all certainty that the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, were the most knowledgeable of people. That the companions of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ were the most knowledgeable of people regarding the deen.
ولا ندعي أنهم يعلمون كل شيء ولكن هم أعلم ممن بعدهم جزما.
And we do not say that they know every single thing. However, with certainty, they are more knowledgeable than other than them.
رابعا
Fourthly,
أن نقول لا يشترط أن نقول إن ما ذكره العلماء من تقسيمات متعلقة بالتوحيد بمسائل العلم هي مأخوذة من القرآن والسنة ومن أيضا أقوال الصحابة رضوان الله عليهم وإنما ذكروا أقسامها وأنواعها وحصروها.
Fourthly, we say that the ulama, the work that they have done to divide knowledge up, for example, into different categories and so on and so forth, that this is taken from the Quran and Sunnah.
ولذلك شيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب لما ذكر القواعد الأربعة ذكر أنها مأخوذة من القرآن.
And for this, we find that in Qawaid al-Arba, Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahab, he mentioned that these 4 principles are taken from the Quran.
خامسا أن نقول لا تجعل جهلك وقصور علمك سببا للطعن في الصحابة.
Fifthly, we say, do not make your ignorance a reason to speak ill of the Sahaba.
أيضا ممكن يقال بهذا القول سادسا أن هذا القول محدث وقول شنيع في مقام الصحابة رضي الله عليهم.
And we can say sixthly that this statement is a very bad statement, that it is a new statement. It is muhdith, something that was never preceded before, and it is something bad about the Sahaba.
ولرد مثل هذه الأقوال الشنيعة ولبيان فضل علم الصحابة على من بعدهم يقرأ كتاب فضل علم السلف على الخلف.
And for whoever wants to know the virtue of the Sahaba and the predecessors, the Salaf, over those who came after them, then they should read the book Fadl al-Sahaba Ibn Rajab.